Hey guys, it's Morgan coming back to you with another weekly Shlog here from Highland Cycles in Western Colorado. Welcome back to the shop vlog here. If you are new here, if you found us because you're watching the Beta 300 stuff or Baja stuff or something like that and you got drawn into the channel, consider sticking around for this video. We do one of these a week. They come out on Monday afternoons and it is just a week in the life. Yeah, week in the life of a small motorcycle shop, dirt bike specific shop in Western Colorado. We do performance work, we do normal maintenance work, we fix things. Every now and then we break things because we're humans. But yeah, we have a lot of fun, so make sure you stick around. We got a lot of work to do this week, so stick with us. Here we go. All right, guys, first on the lift. Oh, actually, hold on, quick. Breaking news on the Penton. I have to show you something. I finally got the tool to remove the flywheel. It was definitely a fight, but we got it off of there. You can see all that rust and nastiness in there. We got rust on all these contacts. So what we're gonna try to do is we're gonna try really hard to just clean this and clean that, get it all pretty, and see if we get a better spark out of it. But first, I gotta get a modern bike done because that gentleman is in no hurry. This gentleman is in a hurry because he wants to ride his dirt bike. This is a, I'm not sure what year it is, 21, 22, something like that. YZ250FX. Honestly, a very good motorcycle. I like these bikes a lot. Handle well, good power, all that stuff. The one problem with them is they're so freaking crazy loud stock. It's the loudest bike on the planet stock. But this thing is getting a ton of love because it's been neglected for a while. So we're adjusting the valves, we're gonna grease the steering head, grease the linkage bearings, full service, change the oil, air filter, all the things. So yeah, we'll walk you guys through all that stuff. Gonna start with the valve adjustment because when you do a valve adjustment on a 4-stroke of any kind, because there really aren't valves on 2 strokes unless you're talking about the power valve. When you're doing a valve adjustment, you want the bike to be cold. You want it to have sat overnight, or at least for a few hours, and be at room temperature or whatever, because when things get hot, like running temperature hot, metal grows and changes the lash. So the lash numbers, the gap that you're supposed to have is based on a cold motor. So this one has been sitting all weekend actually. So I'm gonna take the seat and tank out of the way and get down in here. Honestly, these Yamahas, the new style Yamaha with the backwards motor, it's one of the easiest bikes in the world to do a valve adjustment on. All right, guys, there we go. Motor's right there. One of the reasons I think these are so easy to do with is this twin spar frame allows you to go right down in on top, just like the old Hondas, maybe the new Hondas too, actually. But anyway, the CRFs have this style frame and let you get right down in there. One thing you got to remember, guys, is these are backwards. The intake is that way, exhaust is that way. That's super weird if you've worked on motors for a long time. It's getting to be less and less weird because Yamahas have been like this for a long time. But now we got to get this thing to where we're close to top dead center. 17 mil ratchet or socket there. We're going to roll this until you can see the cams are both on the base circle. So you don't really have to worry too much. That's probably really close to top dead, but we don't have to be crazy specific because we just need all the pressure off of the valve. So that will work there. Oh, by the way, guys, another thing that Toolbox Widget makes is these. They're magnetic, and this stuff is modular. You can take that off, put that on. Super cool. I've got one on either side of the lift now, so I can put bolts in there for one thing. Got the grip mat for other bolts. You can hang tools right there. Super nice. Really cool to have that there. Let's grab our feeler gauges. We're looking for 6 to 10 thousandths on we're looking for 4 to 6 thousandths on intake and 6 to 10 thousandths on exhaust. People, I get a lot of questions as to where these things came from. These are K&L, made specifically for the old Genesis motor that Yamaha built, the old 5 valve, because they needed these skinny little guys to go in there, but these things are really nice. So we'll start with a 5, see if we can get a 5 into the intakes. All right, goes on that one. goes on that one, so that's good. Intakes are good. Now we'll check exhaust. 7's no problem. 7's no problem. Sweet. Valves are good. Now, while we've got it apart, we're going to go ahead and grab a spark plug, because why not? Although these fuel-injected 4-strokes very, very rarely need a spark plug. But if you're going to be in here, you might as well replace it. So we'll get that. Got the air filter off, cleaned and drying. Next thing we're going to do is button this all back up and change the oil. And once the oil's changed, then I'm going to start taking the back of the thing apart so I can get to the linkage and the swing arm and grease all that stuff. Also, I'll probably just wash it. It's dirty. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wash it before I work on the linkage. I don't want any dirt getting in there. Not that it's a huge deal, but might as well get it clean. The other nice thing about this twin spar style frame is that there's nothing or very little above it to get dirty. And all of this is actually all dirty or clean. I sprayed it out, with air to get all the loose particles off. So that's in good shape. So yeah, we'll get after it here. All right, guys. Got the bike all washed up. Got oil changed, full. Check that, all that. If you guys haven't watched last Shlog, here's last Shlog. There's the one before that where I worked on the 250FX, showing you how to check oil level and all that stuff. Check that out if you get a chance. Also, check the screen down in here, right there. If you haven't, take that thing out. Make sure it doesn't have anything weird going on. This one looked perfect. Now I got the wheel off. I greased the wheel bearings just with some spray stuff. This stuff's actually really good. The Z-Max lube, multi-use lubricant, is good. It goes on with an aerosol real thin and like soaks in, it sucks into things, and then it sets up as a nice like grease. It's really good. It's clear, doesn't make a mess. All right, now we are going to take apart this whole linkage and take it off the bike. We'll clean this up. This is disgusting. And we'll put some mats down so it's clean, but we'll take that all apart, grease that up really good. Gonna take the swing arm, pull it out. I don't actually take all this off. You can if you need to. Like if I had to replace these bearings, I would. I don't think I'm gonna have to because it seems like it's fine. But we'll just slide the whole thing back, and I'll show you guys that when I do it. But I'm gonna take the linkage apart right now, get that whole like tri-link thing out, clean it really good, make sure it's all greased up. Some of the bearings are caged, some of them are not. I don't know. It seems like it's different every year. Usually on Yamahas, the only caged bearings are on the swing arm. So I'm used to these ones all in here being loose. So you got to be really careful not to drop those as you're taking things apart to clean and grease. Yeah, I'll bring you in if I see anything crazy. Otherwise, I will show you how I do the swing arm. All right, we got the pivot out over there. This is the axle. Pivot out now. What we're going to do is we're going to, hang on, get this brake out of its mooring here. There we go. Now we'll just drop this down like that. Now we have access to the bearings. So I can take a look in there. Like I said, these are caged on Yamahas, which is nice. You can just take that out, set it down there in our grip mat, and then take a bunch of grease. Make sure you really mush it into the bearings, like force it down in there. These spacers, guys, are elusive. They like to come out because they don't have a cup on any side, so they just stick into the seal. And when you're sliding this up in here, you got to be careful not to have it pop out. So I'm obviously going to have to set you down to do that, but got that all greased up and cleaned up. So guys, if you did like I did with the chain still on here, you got to be careful. And same with the brake, you kind of just got to wheedle this thing up in here. Move the shock. And be kind of careful. There we go. Now we got grease on our pivot. All right, guys, now just put it all back together. Nothing special about that. Gonna also, I forgot, I'm gonna take the lower shock bearing out of the shock. Like on a KTM, it's actually in the tri-link. There's a bearing here, and then the clevis on the shock just goes over it. On Yamaha, the bearing's actually in the bottom of the shock. So I gotta pop that thing out, grease that up pretty good, and then this thing all goes back together. So set you guys down, we'll get this thing done, and move on to the steering head. All right, guys, next is the front triple clamps. We're gonna grease the steering head bearings. Already took the forks and front wheel off. Then we need to get this nut off here, which this is clearly too big of a wrench. Whoops. Thought it was a 36. Looks like it's probably a 32. Come over here to our very well organized toolbox, which I really, really do love. And we're gonna break this loose. Now on KTMs, the bolt that goes through here holds the whole thing together. On a Yamaha, it's just this just holds the top triple clamp on, and then we have a castle nut underneath that we'll have to undo. So let me set you guys down. Well, it looks like we're gonna have to take these handlebars off because that is not gonna get in there quite right. So no big deal. Take these loose. Doesn't really matter. It's nice if you can keep them all together, but that's all right. It's all gonna be dangling somewhat precariously for a little bit now. You could go nuts and like take every little piece off and set it all apart and all that stuff, but that just wastes a ton of time. I would rather just deal with trying to reroute all the hoses or hose and cables, and yeah, when we're done. Now just tighten those front ones up. What do you mean?
Front forward and the brakes.
Huh?
Stop.
Did you put the spacer on the wrong side? The front wheel spacers?
I don't think so.
Folks, this is Old Mace over here. My son Thomas's friend Mason. We call him Old Mace, and we like to make fun of his highlighted hair and the fact that he's a complete idiot. But he does have a cute little apron on and sweatpants. It's an interesting look. And you put the spacers on backwards on the front wheel. Which actually is very easy to do on a Yamaha because they're different, and it's easy to swap them accidentally. So we're gonna make fun of him though, because that's what we do here at a motorcycle shop. Highland Cycles is not part of the woke culture. We still make fun of people. We do our best to offend as many people as humanly possible. All right, so now we're gonna lift this up, and this is all gonna be kind of a mess, but if we leave it just like that, it'll be just fine. Make sure you put this back where it goes. It goes underneath on top of the castle nut. Do not forget that. Actually, speaking of tool organization, use our tool caddy from XC Gear. These things are rad for doing just this. When you still got the seat and everything on, you slap that thing down there. It's got magnets under here to catch things, magnet here to catch that. It's really nice. And just so you know, I do not make a penny if you buy one of those. That is not a commercial. That is just, they're really good. A lot of these other things I do make some money off of, and I really appreciate you buying them. And if you know me, I'm going to tell you the truth no matter what. And like the toolbox widget, all that, I really do believe in it. 100%. I think it's really good. But just so you know, full transparency, if you order stuff, I get a little bit of money. So, all right, so now I'm going to break this loose. Actually, I'm going to use a tool not for what it's intended, but we got a little T-handle here. and a thing, because this is not very tight. So I'm gonna go get some gloves on because it's gonna be a mess. And I've already got my grease. Actually, guys and girls, we're gonna use a new grease. I've been using the Motor X stuff for a long time, but our friend Tyler Humphreys, who makes the moose juice that we use for lubing moose balls and mooses, decided he works at a petrochemical company. That's why he was able to make moose juice, and he came up with a grease that basically, since he's in the business, he knows some of the tricks. And honestly, a lot of the grease that's out there, guys, it's made to wash off. Like, it's not as good as it can be. It's not as sticky as it can be. And so he came up with this, which he's calling gripper grease, and I don't think it's available yet on the website, but this stuff is gnarly. Look at that. Boo! That's cool. So we're gonna set that there. Try real hard not to just drop all this, but as you can see, this does not have a ton of grease left on it, so we're going to take our gripper grease. Dude, that stuff is gnarly. You don't want to get that on your clothes. I doubt any kind of detergent would ever get that out. But, like he's explained to me, this stuff will actually last a very, very long time, no matter how much water you spray it with, no matter how much washing of the bike you do. All that. So we're going to make sure we really force that down in there from the top, from the sides, from the bottom. We'll set that back down. I'm going to do the same to the steering head, or the bottom steering wheel. Sorry, I'm not going to show you that specifically because I'm going to have to grab you guys and set you down so I don't lose the camera off the side of this motorcycle. Oh, here. All right, now with tightening this, to start, I'm just going to take this like that. Start there. This grease, set that down on there. Like I said before, almost didn't mess up. Don't forget that guy. That guy goes there. Triple clamp. Down. Steering nut. All right, I'm just going to put this on hand tight. Now, leaving the handlebars off because we've still got to tighten this down. And here's the thing, to line these up, because this right now they move independent of each other, we got to slide the forks up in there to help align them. There we go. I'm going to tighten the bottom, and I will torque these later, but T-handle for now, just get that nice and tight. Now we're going to grab the other fork. I'm going to set that to the same height. Tighten the bottom triple clamp bolts. Now, I'm going to tighten down the big steering nut. And we may get lucky on this being the correct tightness, although I kind of doubt it. But I'm going to tighten this down because this thing gets a whole bunch of torque. I don't know what the exact torque value is, but it's close to 100 on these, because it's not really pinching the steering head bearings, it's pinching up against this castle nut, but it does load it a little bit, so that's why we're doing that now. Then we're just going to take our bars and set them, maybe. Just going to set them there. We're going to take our hands, we're just going to rotate this back and see if there's any resistance, which it feels pretty good. And then we're gonna grab the forks and we're gonna push and pull like this way and that way, but down low. Make sure we don't get any movement. And that feels really good. So I think we got lucky. Now there is a specific torque on this. I know, I think you're actually supposed to torque it down to a certain level, then back it off and torque it back down. But I've done this a lot of times, guys. I know I'm not Mr. Jeff Slavens. I've been working for 75 years on the motorcycle. But I have done a lot of them. And you don't need to get the torque wrench out. If you want to, that's fine. It's great. It doesn't hurt anything. But it's kind of hard to get a big castellated like socket or a wrench on there and actually get an accurate torque. So what I do is get tight enough that there's no wiggle this way, but it moves freely side to side with no, and you can push it and it'll go. So I like it. I think it's good. And this is nice and tight. The cool thing is, if you wanted to, if you need to back this off a little bit, you could just take a punch, a brass punch, and tap, 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 and back that off and loosen it up just a tiny bit. But I like it. I like it the way it is. We're going to bolt everything up. And then I think we'll be basically done with this bike. I got to go through the paperwork, make sure we're all good. I already checked the wheel bearings, greased the rear. I'm going to grease the fronts before we put them back on. I washed it. Air filter's good. Oil's good. Got to check the coolant. Actually, that's one thing I got to do. Then we'll touch all the spokes, make sure they're good. And then, yeah, we'll be ready to rock and roll. All right, guys, next on the lift is this YZ250FX. No, this is not the same one we were working on. This is another YZ250FX. These are very popular bikes around here because they're good and they're relatively inexpensive. Yeah, I like them a lot. I'm not a four-stroke guy, but I do like these bikes. But one of the problems that most four-strokes have, Richie and I were just talking about that, it doesn't seem like the 390 betas have as much of this problem, but they tend to like to cough stall and flame out when you get too low in the RPM. Two-strokes don't generally do that. They just keep going until they, I mean, you can definitely stall them, but it takes a lot lower RPM and basically standing on the rear brake, well, with the clutch out. Whereas four-strokes, they keep trying to make them lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter, and they keep lightening up parts of the motor, which then is less inertia, which then makes them want to, and they also bring in more compression to get more horsepower. So when you get too low of an RPM, the motor's basically fighting itself with compression, and it'll stop. So this gentleman, a good friend of ours, just bought this thing as like another bike. He's got lots of other bikes, but this is one more. He's never had a four-stroke like this, so he bought it. And really enjoying it, but it's stalling a lot. So he bought a Steahly off-road flywheel weight for it, and I'm excited to install it because I told him that the problem with a lot of these modern four-strokes is that there's no room behind this ignition cover. They're making everything so small that there's not a lot of room there for a weight. So this weight goes on here, but it does require a press and some other things. So we're going to learn it together, guys, of how to install this. So first things first, we've got to take skid plate off, drain the oil out of here, get the shifter off of here, and then we're going to pop this cover off and get the flywheel off. So guys, if you're going to do this, just plan on doing an oil change. I don't like laying these bikes on their side for the flywheel like I do with the clutch. Seems like it still just leaks. So it's just easier. Go ahead, drain it, do new oil, filter. You're all good. Show you something here, guys. So if you do this job, you'll notice that some of these bolts have crush washers on them. And you might be wondering, well, I got to keep that in line so I know where they go and they go back on. Right there, that little arrow and that little arrow, that is what those are for. That arrow is telling you that that's where the crush washer goes. So you don't have to be super crazy about where you put them or making a little cardboard template or any of that stuff. So guys, here we go. This is Motion Pro, part number 080257, 08-250-257. There's a female style that goes on here with obviously this bolt here is going to go on and push it on. So you just thread it on. It's right hand threaded, so normal thread, righty tighty. Hard to do with my left hand. Like for some reason, really hard to do with my left hand. There we go. Dealing with flywheel pullers, guys, make sure you thread them on as far as you can, because if you just barely get them on there and hit this with the impact, you can rip the threads right off the flywheel. So that's on there all the way. Now we're going to come down here, grab another socket, which I believe that's a 24 or 25. Let's see. All right, it's 24. I'll set you guys down. There we go, super easy. Now we're gonna take it over to the bench and see what we gotta do. Gotta get all this stuff cleared out of the way. Guys, I just shot another video on how to fix dents in pipes. So check that out if you're interested. I've done a lot of those videos, but it always bears repeating. So we got that done. That'll be up on the channel probably before you see this. So if you haven't yet seen that, you want to learn how to do pipes, check it out. Preparing rotor. Use a flat file around the sharp edge of the rotor to allow the weight to press on smoothly. So that's this. This is already pretty nice, but I'll go ahead and get a file that's already chamfered there, but go ahead and get a file and we'll just smooth that out a little bit. This is remove burrs of sharp edges, but there really aren't any, but I'll touch it up just in case. Then we're going to have to wipe the rotor with paper towels and metal cleaner, brake cleaner, whatever, get this completely dry and oil free. Oh, this is cool. So it actually sends you with tools to be able to do this without a press. I'll show you how that works. That's actually really cool. So let's get this cleaned up. I'm gonna go parts washer first, then water, then brake cleaner, and get this completely dry. All right, so that is fresh out of the parts washer, not the ultrasonic, just our normal parts washer with solvent in it, and then some hot water. Now I'm putting gloves on, not so much to protect my hands, although that's a good idea. Probably should do that more. More about keeping any oils from my hands off of that. Got some brake clean. Some air. One more fresh blue towel. That should be that. That sucker is nice and clean. Use this box as a place to put it. Inside is nice and dry, free of oil. So this, guys, is going to go on like this. Now here's the deal. They want us to, I'm going to make sure this is clean too and dry. Should be. So this is brand new. They want us to put some thread locker on there. So the blue stuff, so we're going to take a little bit of that. We're going to run that around here. And then this is the installation tool. But it's interesting. It says to use a bolt that, I think it says it's supposed to come with a bolt, but it's not in here. So I'm going to get a bolt with a nut and washer because it is going to be a nice way to do this. So go find a long bolt that'll go through there. All right, guys, got a bolt. Make sure it's going to come through. Yeah, sticks up plenty. All good. Get our thread locker. Gonna run that around. People don't know that always, but thread locker works in this application too. Got it on here, like that. Put this through here. a washer and a nut. Now, you'll get a couple wrenches and tighten this thing down. You want to make sure you try to get this thing as centered on the back as possible and as lined up so it doesn't try to cock and go on not straight. And tap it. You don't want to use a metal hammer directly on the flywheel, but you can use it on the plate here. All right, there we go. Now, I'm reading the instructions. It says you don't want any gap, but I'm getting a tiny little gap in there, so all right, guys, now after that little whack, I got rid of that gap. Now it looks perfect. I like it. Now, I'm gonna clean this thing up really good. Make sure there's no metal chips from being over here on the vise. This vise is used for lots of things. So, all right, now we're gonna take it over. There's one more thing we gotta make sure it doesn't hit on the back side of this. So let's go over and take a look. All right, so they're worried about us hitting any of this stuff. I don't think we are, because this is a little bit different than the pictures. I think the picture's an older bike. But we'll just make sure. We're gonna take this, line up our keyway with the Woodruff key. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tighten this bolt or this nut down and actually cinch this on there, because it's gonna move a little bit. Then I'm gonna put a ratchet on here. I'm gonna turn it over and make sure I don't hear any scraping. If I do, we'll pull it back off, look for witness marks, and then file it, whatever we need to do, and then put it back on. But I bet we're gonna be just fine. No problems, I like it. All right, there you go, guys, that's installed. I'm gonna go ahead and button this thing back up, pour some oil back in it, and fire it up and make sure it doesn't do anything weird then, and then we'll give the customer a call. All right, guys, it is time to work on the Penton. I've got most of everything else out of the way that I was working on. Got my sexy motorcycles over there. All things absolutely beautiful. Now we're going to work on getting a better spark out of this, because I don't know what the compression is on this thing. It moves, which is nice, but I don't know what the compression is. I'm sure we're going to have to do something to the top end. But right now, I know for a fact that the spark is super weak. And I think I showed this to you on another video, but you can see this is all very rusty. Rusty pickups here, there, anywhere. Also, super rusty flywheel. So, I am now going to spend a bunch of time sanding all this and making it pretty. I'm not going to bring you guys in for all of that, because that's going to be pretty boring, but I will bring you back when I get it all done, show you what that looks like when I'm finished with it, and then we'll put it all together and see if we can't get some bright blue spark out of this. If we can do that, we are one step closer to making this 1973 6 days 125 run. So I'll be spending some time. Next thing you see will hopefully be some really clean parts. All right, guys, we got the flywheel cleaned up, and no, it's not perfect, and neither is the generator slash magneto, whatever you want to call this. It's maybe, I guess I'd call it a stator. It's a stator. I mean, the way it is. Anyway, they're not perfect, but they're way better. We got bare metal contacts on things. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on here and spin it and see if our spark looks any better. So just 1 second. All right, so the ignition did not get any better with what I did. It's not like I said, I didn't go deep clean, but it's super rusty. I'm guessing it's just ruined. So it's a Motoplat ignition. I'm going to have to do some looking on that and see what we can find. I think they do exist, which would be cool. Also I'll have to dig into it a little bit more because I don't really understand everything about it, but we got some other parts up in here, so stay tuned. We're going to pull this tank off. Let's go ahead and get this tank off and look at the wiring and see maybe there's something else going on. I'm not sure. All right, guys, fiddling with some stuff. I got the tank off the Motoplat coil and been running it. This connector thing seems to be all good. I'm going to go ahead and pull these connectors off, try cleaning those and put it back on. We'll try it one more time. After that, I have a feeling our generator is probably low on production of power. And I don't know if there's anything I could do to that other than what I've already done to it. Maybe I could try cleaning it a little bit better, but the metal's bare, so there's no problem with contact. I think it's just old. So let's pull those off, clean them, and we'll try it one more time. Same results. And what makes me think that it's low on production of power and not a problem up here is because it doesn't make any spark until it starts spinning really fast, which that's how stators work, generators work, is they make more power the faster they spin. To me, it's just not making any power down low, or at least not enough to create a spark, and then it does finally get fast enough to create a very light spark. So next step, we got to get some spark to this thing. Also, I checked compression by putting my finger over the spark plug hole. I was spinning it, and it does seem to do something. So we might have enough for it to run if we can get the thing to spark. So I got the carburetor clean. It needs a lot more love. A lot more love before it's going to do anything good. But yeah, stay tuned, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We'll have more information on this thing coming soon. Also, guys, quick shout out to the largest sponsor of the channel, Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Make sure you use the link in the description if you're buying anything from them. Again, I have to say, please shop local first. Go to your local shop, order the part, talk to the people behind the counter, make friends with them, go for rides with them, all that good stuff. But if all that fails and you need parts now, or they can't get you parts, or there's no dealer, or you hate the guys at the shop, use Rocky Mountain ATV MC. They're great guys, amazing company, actually owned by the employees. I can't say enough good about them. They've been really good to me, and they're good to everybody that I know. So use the link in the description. All right, guys, that's the end of the week, the end of the Shlog. We are all done here for the week. It is actually beautiful outside right now. Hopefully, my boys and I are going to be going to the Chimney Rock area, which is just outside of Green River, to do some dirt biking. So make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see that. Also, you should subscribe to the channel if you've gotten this far in the video and you have yet to subscribe. I highly recommend you do it. It's a pretty awesome place to be here. And yeah, we appreciate it. I love you guys. Hope that I hope you get out and spread the gospel two wheels, and I desperately hope that what we're doing here is inspiring you guys to work on, but more importantly, get out and ride your dirt bikes!